I believe that through turning outwardly and as we give more, we're going to be given more. And so I do believe that we're about to tap into a different dimension where money just doesn't matter as much. Money amplifies who you are as a person and what you're about. So if you have dark places in your heart, it's going to get exposed.
Tulsa
Just look at
Talks
one.
is the podcast that is inspiring people to have everyday meaningful conversations to gain perspective and help the world.
Welcome to Tulsa Talks. We have Hugo Gutierrez with us again. He is a Colombian immigrant, successful businessman that has had life challenges. He's overcome them to this point in his life, and he's opened a nonprofit. Hugo, welcome. Thanks for coming
Thank
back.
you for having me back. So yeah, there were a few things left over from last time that I wanna tell you guys, you and
Please.
your audience, because I want to encourage everybody watching to turn outward, to pay it forward.
Turn outward.
Yes.
That's an interesting phrase. What does turn outward and pay forward mean?
So there's a point when you realize that that you have to give. That maybe one of the reasons why you don't have enough in your life, enough money, enough time, enough whatever, is because you're keeping it all to yourself. There is a spiritual principle that I believe applies to everybody, whether you have faith or not, and is that the world of the generous gets larger and larger. The opposite
The
is also generous. Yeah. Those who give and don't worry about what's coming back to them, it's going to come back to them. So I definitely encourage people to watch the first interview to kind of get a little bit more context, but let me kind of summarize it. So I come to the United States as a student through different miraculous turns.
Amazing.
Find
Watch
myself.
The other episode. Amazing.
So I find myself teaching people how to salsa dance in college, just casually, 500 people once a month later. Then people start calling me to see if I could do their weddings. At first I said no, and then eventually saw what some of the other DJs were doing, and I was like, okay, I can do that. So I jumped in 2010 and said, okay, this is going to be my business. So I started Lions Road Studios, and then
which still exists today.
Yes, yeah. So it's celebrating 15 years this year.
Congratulations.
Over 4,000 weddings as a team, and I personally have done about 1,100 of those.
Wow.
So I've seen more weddings than people will ever see in their lifetime, and families and realities and the good and the bad and the ugly of being human. So it's like hyper humanity. Weddings are hyper humanity. And
you said you fed off that and you had energy highs with that experience, but then we needed to make sure that when we have those energy highs, we should expect some coming down from that, and that might not feel good, but we get to go through that as human beings in every walk of life, independent of what we actually do. We should expect that in our lives.
If you go out running for the first time in a while today and you run more than you have in a while, tomorrow you're going to feel it. It's the same thing with your soul. Like if you do something that will extend you past your normal limits, like me DJing extends my extroversion and my people skills past my normal limits, I can do it for a time, for the 4, 5, 6 hours of a reception. And then the next day I have a low and I have to expect the low. Otherwise I think, man, why am I depressed? It feels like a depression. But I just got to know that, okay, I'm sore from yesterday. I need to give myself time to recover and rest, and don't make any life decisions while you're in that low state. You'll come out of it eventually. So there's just natural progressions to that. Now, while you're in the low state, don't load up on sugar or, do things that will make that state last longer. But anyways, that's
another story.
That's another story. But anyway, so here I am enjoying the success, especially around 2016, 17, we start seeing money pouring in from many places. And I remember that I would, and I didn't do it for the recognition, but I would give for free DJ services to different causes. For example, the Little League or the Boys and Girls Club of the in Broken Arrow had a special needs banquet every year. I wouldn't charge them a penny, but I would do it for the joy of it, to sow into those amazing kids who make you feel like you're the one who has the challenges and they're the gifted ones, because I believe they are. They love more naturally. And little things like that, I felt like were crucial to sow good seed and to reap the rewards. Like the businesses kept growing. I had the chance to buy the Silo Event Center in 2017. By 2018, and it was a reality. And I was a little bit more focused on legacy. Like if I die tomorrow, God forbid, what do I leave to my kids? A DJ career will die with me more than likely, and my business might survive me for a few years. But I was definitely and continue to be the engine of Lions Road. So what do I leave behind for them? So real estate kind of seemed like the right choice. What I didn't expect is that 2 years into owning the business and remodeling it, um, we would be hit with a pandemic. So my plans to have a grand reopening were definitely postponed almost indefinitely by circumstances out of my control. And that really threw me into a tailspin where I didn't recognize myself again for probably about 3 years.
That's a long time.
That's a long
That's a
time.
long time for a tailspin. So
Well,
you're a successful business person
mhm,
that's doing great things. Life is going your way. The pandemic comes and punches you in the mouth.
mhm,
You're in a
yes,
tailspin for roughly 3 years where you don't
yeah.
realize what you had or where you're going. And there's a lot of questions that are dwelling inside you, I suppose.
I did turn introverted or inward, and the plus of it is that I spent a lot more time with my family and realized, what, these are my people, this is my tribe, the ones who are with me unconditionally, regardless of my success. Because when you're successful, you will have plenty of friends. When there's money involved, you will have plenty of friends.
People that will act like your friends.
Yes, right, friends. But when things get tough, that's when you really find out who your friends are. I wish I had been a better leader, maybe more mature leader at the time, but um, for a little bit of time, I just I couldn't find myself when everything was at risk. When
Hmm.
I was at one point, I was 2 weeks away from bankruptcy. There was only enough money to pay the next mortgage payment, and that was it. And I started to ask God, okay, why would you let me I, buy a venue? Because I, on purpose, while we were in the process, said, close the door if this is not from you, Lord. Um, and the door opened. So I was like, okay, I believe I'm walking out the calling that you have for me by buying the venue. But why would you let me buy a venue if that 7-figure mortgage
Yeah.
is now about to take me under?
Yeah. Let me buy it and then burn it down from under me. Well,
Yeah.
how does that make sense?
It's like that moment when Moses said, did you get us out of Egypt to just kill us in the desert? So
Right.
I think it's a very honest and human complaint. Like, why the adversity? And I didn't see it at the time. And then in 2021, I had what I called the Judas experience, where a lot of people that were close to me betrayed me one way or another, and they used me as a trampoline to reach other heights. And now I don't blame them for it, but at the time it felt so personal. And I was so hurt by it. And that's much of why I think it took me a couple extra years to recover from the pandemic. It was because I was
Hurt
definitely
on hurt.
hurt on hurt. Yeah, like insult to injury. And then so we get to a point where the bleeding stops, probably end of 2022. And I said, okay, I just have to roll up my sleeves and do a lot of the things I used to delegate myself so that we can recover. So 2023 was honestly when I felt like I was healing my heart and healing my businesses. I never expected the concept that businesses get hurt, but businesses can also be healed.
Yeah. So what I just heard was you received back into your life what you had before you had put this team together, and God gave something for you to put your hand to that was good for
Hmm.
you,
Yes.
gave you an avenue of uh, intentional living that gave you something worthwhile doing?
So I had to embrace humility. I think that's a hard lesson to learn, especially when you're successful and you can delegate a lot of the menial tasks. And you think, okay, I gotta clean the bathrooms again. I gotta do everything again. I mean, if that's what it takes to survive, had I been more arrogant, I think I would have failed. But I think it was a moment where God was saying, okay, this is a
Get back to ground zero, do
Mhm.
what you do. You
Build
know
it.
what to do, get
Yeah,
after it.
yeah. You're not too good. Just be humble, and God exalts the humble. So I think humility is something that you should always keep in your front pocket, not in your back pocket, but in your front pocket. Uh,
But how can you, okay, how about this? I am prideful about the humility level that I
so
have.
if you write about yourself that you're the most humble person in the world, are you still humble?
Yeah,
Humility is knowing who you are, no more, no less,
that's right.
and acting accordingly.
Right.
Oh, no, 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 you're too kind. That's false humility, which is a form of arrogance.
Right.
Or, I'm too good. That's also arrogance. So you
Hmm.
got to know who you are. And I think that's a definite point that I think we made last time, but I want to make again, that you got to know your passion. You got to know the things that keep you up at night, in a good way, the things that you could do and lose track of time.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So for me, people, dancing, music, the atmosphere of a wedding was just something that I never expected to enjoy so much, but I did, and I do, to the point where it refreshes me, and I don't burn out because I enjoy it. I do have to rest enough, because if I do too many weddings in a row, I will burn out.
Yeah. Your physicality won't keep up with your purpose.
hmm Your brain chemistry even just changes when you don't get enough sleep, when you don't get enough rest. So the day of rest is important. The day of family is important. Recharging with the people who love you. But anyway, so I find myself, post pandemic, um, stop the bleeding, and I mean, 23 was a break even year for me. Finally, okay, we're breaking even after 3 years in the red. Um, and here we are. And then last year, 2024, was actually a profitable year. It's like, okay, we're finally back
Back on track.
back on track. We're healthy again. But in the meantime, I was, again, I asked God why, and He didn't exactly tell me why, but He did tell me what for. And He said, okay, pay it forward. What do you mean? Okay, I gave you two businesses, and again, God doesn't speak to me audibly, but in visions or in passions, that I'm like,
Look,
okay, I can't.
let me share a little bit about my wife and my experience of what we're doing here.
Uh
My
huh.
wife is not a person that prays and prays and prays. She's not a prayer warrior. She prays occasionally.
hmm
Now, I have a different definition of prayer, and we can cover that in a different episode, maybe on our Complete Peace podcast. But today on Tulsa Talks, I'll share this. My wife and I were laying in bed, and we were holding hands, and she thought that I had went to sleep, and she had just prayed silently. And when she removed her hand from mine, I said, God is giving the steps exactly as we need them to walk this thing out. And she laughed.
hmm
And I said, why'd you laugh? She said, because I just prayed for God to give us the steps as we need them.
Yeah.
And that's what you're talking about.
Yes.
God puts in your heart what it is that you need to do next.
Yes.
And what did you need to do next?
So you're finding me now about a year into a new journey, and I'm not ending what I already have established, but I'm doing it in tandem. And it's to turn both of my businesses, so Lions Road with DJ lighting, dance lessons, videography, rentals, and then the venue, the Silo Event Center, with also having the ability to cater. We have a restaurant on site, which, by the way, shameless plug, Cupperdome
I
Tulsa.
love that
.com.
place. If you have a few dollars and you want a good dining experience,
Yeah.
go there. I highly recommend it.
So I teamed up with a chef, Tyler Whitson, formerly of Palace Cafe, who is
Phenomenal.
amazing. Anyway, so just great food, and it's another avenue to um, basically create something fun for the community. But yeah, so we have the venue, we have the entertainment business, and God says, okay, use what you have in your hands to bless other people, and to not expect anything back. Again, the world of the generous gets larger and larger. So I applied for a 501c3, called it Rockstar Weddings, and last year I had the chance to fundraise and sponsor partially, because it's a brand new initiative. But I was able to sponsor two weddings, one for a 15-year Army veteran bride who got married in September of last year, and then a TPD officer who got married in October of last year. So what we did is we found sponsors to be able to come in and gift to them to pay it forward and say, hey, thank you for your service. Talk is cheap, but when you actually thank people in a stressful but so meaningful day such as your wedding, I think it means a lot more to those people when we say, hey, I'm here for you. We notice that you're here for us every day and you put your life on the line every day, or 15 years going through countless tours of the Middle East so that we can sleep at night and those problems stay over there and we are here in the land of the free.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I
So,
have a couple of examples that I would like to share with the audience, if you don't mind.
yeah.
I have a friend of mine that owns a couple of Chick-fil-A's here in town.
Yes.
Phenomenal guy. So artsy as well. And he was on the podcast not too long ago. Arthur Grano, shout out to you.
Yes.
He has his life like most people live. He owns a restaurant, two of them, and other things as well. And I've noticed that, he has a nonprofit. I have another friend of mine that's in the construction industry that has a successful construction company and was actually able to sell quite a bit of it to capture some of that value. And he launched a couple of software companies, and he has other investments. And now he started a nonprofit a couple of years ago as well. So if you can handle the pressure of leading yourself and leading others, the next step is, let's do a nonprofit.
Yeah, give back.
So your nonprofit is about helping people through their wedding day.
Yes. So my goal is to find local heroes. I'm talking about teachers, first responders, military members, or veterans. And if they happen to be planning a big event such as their wedding, I want to be able to sponsor them by gifting to them the services. The first thing that we start with is videography as the first service that we try to fundraise and gift to people, because I have to be able to document these weddings. And right now, we're in fact in the process of creating a documentary series where we can actually tell the story of Mr. and Mrs. Linder, my Army bride, my first rock star couple. And so what we're going to be doing is telling the story, and hopefully through the documentary series, be able to also fundraise for the next set of rock stars that we want to sponsor. But when you have had the chance to experience over 1,000 weddings and see the best that people can experience on those days, and then you see some of the most meaningful people to our community, the teachers, first responders, military veterans, and then some. I mean, there are more categories that I just can't cover. And you think, man, those people are typically penny pinching towards their weddings because they don't get paid enough.
Yeah,
for the
I
level.
I say our society doesn't value them enough and doesn't pay them enough because they don't value them enough, and I think we should.
So the people that are risking their lives or teaching the next generation, shaping the minds of our kids, or the people who are overseas, making sure that we stay the land of the free and the home of the brave, and then we pay them,
Menially.
and then they embark into a celebration of love when they realize it takes an average, give or take, $30,000 to put together a wedding. Well, who has that kind of money?
Not those guys a lot of times.
So they start cutting corners, and the people who deserve the biggest celebration uh, are typically the ones who can't afford to throw the celebration. So what I want to do is bridge that gap. I have two tools, and I wish I could afford to do these weddings for free unlimitedly, but I can't. So what I do is I have a nonprofit so that I encourage people, hey, donate directly, so rockstarweddings.org, or come host a party at the silo, or have Lions Road for your entertainment needs or AV needs for any kind of event, or come and dine at Copper Dome. Any of those things, a portion of the profits from all three of those companies are going towards helping me do, give or take, one of these weddings a year. I would love to do 1,000 weddings, just as many as I have DJed for other people for profit. I would love to do nonprofit. So, I
Don't
don't,
constrict God, man. He can
yeah,
do it.
yeah,
If he wants to do it, he can do that. And your smile that you have right now will be even bigger than it is.
yeah. I loved it. Honestly, it's addictive. When you remove money out of the equation for weddings, being somebody who's gifting to them an experience that they couldn't afford, is the atmosphere changes. There's a certain joy, and there's a certain like gratefulness, and gratefulness unlocks blessings. I wish I could put it into practical terms, but as a father, I know that when my children are acting like brats, I don't want to give them anything. But when they are grateful and they say, "Daddy, thank you so much for taking us out to eat," or this or that, I'm like, "Oh man, I can't wait to do it again." I believe Father God is the same way. Like, hey, thank you so much for these amazing people who serve us selflessly, and here is an offering of my best services to them for to recognize that they're heroes, they're local
Yeah.
heroes,
Yeah.
and the atmosphere changed. I believe there was a tangible joy that came from heaven to their weddings just because we were able to do it differently, to turn the paradigm of weddings upside down, where I'm not trying to charge you the wedding tax and get as much money out of you as possible, but now I'm trying to bless you with the things that God has given me throughout 15 years of being
Experience.
experience, and then being
Because you were almost to financial ruin not too many years ago.
hmm
So we can't go back and say that it was 15 years of financial blessings,
hmm
because the 11 years almost disappeared, or 10 years almost
yeah,
disappeared.
yeah,
But now it's different.
it's different.
And you're,
Not everything is like it used to be. We're not swimming in cash, but we have enough. But I believe that through turning outwardly, and as we give more, we're going to be given more. And so I do believe that we're about to tap into a different dimension where money just doesn't matter as much. Money amplifies who you are as a person and what you're about. So if you have dark places in your heart, it's going to get exposed. Just look at Washington. That's all I have to say. They have a lot of money, and the things that they do with it is not necessarily great. But people who have gone through a refinement like myself, and I'm not going to tell you that I'm holier than thou, because I'm not. I'd be happy to tell you all the things I do wrong and all the things where I could be better.
another
You know,
podcast.
another podcast. But what I want to encourage people is that as you start turning outwardly and to pay it back, to pay it forward, and to thank the people around you for what they do for us, uh, something happens, and there's a certain amount of joy that comes into your life that it's a new motivation. Like, I love doing weddings. There's something about giving those services away to the right people to celebrate them that makes me like just energetic again, and it has renewed the passion for weddings. So yeah, I want everybody to hopefully watch the journey that I have had and be inspired to go out there and get it and to find your passion, because if it's not your passion, it's not going to keep you moving. And then become amazing at it, become excellent. And you don't have to be a 10, be a 7, 8, or a 9, and then keep doing it. But at some point, I want to challenge everybody, like, once you get there, once you find success, find a way to give at least a tenth of it away. Just give it away with no agenda. Like, okay, this is something, and if you don't believe in God, turn it to the universe, whatever you want to call it, but give back just for good karma or for sowing and reaping, and you will get back a harvest. It will be multiplied to you. That every seed that you give away from for free, I believe that you'll get 100 seeds the
And
next time.
every seed that you plant in selfishness, you will reap as well.
Yes, and I kind of touched on that last time that we are raising a generation of selfish people. Some of them go past the point of no return, which again stated last time that I believe narcissism, without being an expert in this subject, but definitely having lived through much of it, that there's a point of no return when we're so selfish that there's only God can save you, and I think He can redeem a- anybody, but
At any time, no matter how dark they appear to me,
Mhm.
but I act very leery of people so that I'm not destroyed by them. I can love them, but don't necessarily need to expose myself to them.
Yeah. Yeah. And you have to be careful of people who are really good at telling you what you want to hear, and that are really good at building up your ego, because those are the people that typically are in to hurt you the most.
And there's a life skill,
Hmm.
and we're currently writing a book on communication.
Yeah.
And if you let people talk enough and
Hmm.
you ask the right questions,
Hmm.
they will expose themselves really fast
Yeah.
of what their intent is. If they come to you with me, I, we, then they're somewhat dangerous at least.
Yeah.
And you need to allow them to share with you what that really means to them.
Yeah.
But
But
if you have that outward person that starts sharing with you as well about us and them and others, and you let them share enough, then maybe
mhm,
they circle back around, even though they intended to present themselves that way,
mhm.
but they're not that way. And then sometimes you get in touch with people and you can align with them.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
a beautiful thing.
I think it's John Maxwell that talks about the three levels of communication being, like, most people stay in level one, which is talking about people, and that's gossip. And man, gossip is a pet peeve of mine, because Dave Ramsey says that when you gossip, especially about your boss, you're a thief, because you're tearing down the very company or people that pay you to build them up. So that is where a lot of people stay, is in the talking about
Hating to go
people.
to work Monday, can't work to get off, can't wait to get off work on Friday and complain about it the whole time.
So if you pay attention to what people talk about, if they're only talking about people, then that's level one, and those are not people that are going to help you grow. Level two would be events, or time. So you start talking more about what's happening right now, and those are kind of neutral. Those are good people to talk to, great conversation. We're not gossiping, so that's at least a step forward.
At least you're not tearing it down.
Yes, but then the best level and the people that inspire you the most are those who talk about vision, about ideas, the people who inspire you to go and get it for yourself. And those are the ones that you really want to be under, because the show me who you hang out with and I'll tell you who you are. It's sticky. It sticks to you. So I think that watching the right podcasts, is step one. Like,
Regular people having
mhm,
everyday conversations,
mhm,
helping one another see into their realm uh, can change perspectives.
yeah,
You can be successful and not have money. You can be successful and um, have visions.
mhm,
Success is not defined by money, is what I'm trying to say.
that's
Success
correct.
is not defined by material possessions.
We can't take it anywhere.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
die tomorrow, all of that stuff will be spent by somebody else.
The rich guy gets to heaven. They ask him how much he left, and he says all of it.
Yeah. So I think it's who you touch while you're here, in their heart. How many
Right.
hearts do you touch? That is, I think, the measure of success, for good or for bad. So if you touched 1,000 people for good, I think that's success, even if it's just one person. But then how many did you touch for evil? So I think that equation matters. And someday it will be all out in the open. and we will know each other's stories, and there will be the time and space constraints on us, but we will know everything all at once, and we will know God all at once, and then understand, okay, yeah, being human, it was like we were looking through a foggy mirror, is what the word says. But then someday we'll see without constraints, and we'll understand, okay, yeah, the human mind was limited, but the guy who was trying to kind of show me the clues and guide me through it, he was definitely above all of us. And when we follow these principles, and we follow our passion, and we follow purpose, we're taking those clues and those stepping stones to keep climbing. But I think the point of it is love your neighbor as you love yourself.
And find somebody that has a cause that you can buy into,
Mhm.
serve with them. And if you're called, or if you're told, you hear however you need to hear it to start your own, you'll be
Mhm.
equipped to do that. Team up with somebody worth teaming up with to give back what you've been given.
Yeah. Not everybody should be an entrepreneur. It's not all that is cracked up to be. So you need to find out for yourself if you are somebody to help build, if you're a builder, or if you are, you know, the
And
entrepreneur.
and not everybody needs to open their own nonprofit.
Hmm.
Not everybody's geared to do that, but we are geared with our gifts and abilities to incorporate them into each other's lives. And the visionary is no more important than the person that um, makes it happen.
Or it might just be a season. Like in my 20s, I was the worker. I was, for the better part of a decade, I was someone else's helper for their vision. And little by little, I started to equip myself, especially through my 30s and my entrepreneurial self, to the point where now uh, I'm in my early 40s, and I find myself turning more outward, and call it a midlife crisis. But you start thinking, I I I want my life to mean more. I want there to be a witness to say, hey, that guy did something for me. I'm different because I got to meet that person. And I think that's really what matters. If you're the reason somebody goes to heaven, if you're the reason somebody felt and got to meet Christ, which don't even phrase it like that, love. The Christ is love.
That's right.
So if you're the reason why somebody connected to the source of love, and after that they have all the love they can ever need, and they can give it to others, that's all that matters
Yeah. And
eternally.
you can do that from an entrepreneurial
Hmm.
standpoint. You can do that from having a nonprofit. You can also do that on the back of a garbage truck or digging a ditch with a shovel.
Hmm.
You can show the source of love flowing through you no matter what walk of life you're on. We happen to be talking with Hugo today about his nonprofit
Hmm.
that he launched after he was a successful entrepreneur to give back to what groups?
So teachers, first responders, military, and veterans.
Weddings and services to help them find your lane, do what you do, live your purpose filled, passion driven life to its fullest, wherever you are, because those doors that are set to open in front of you will no doubt open in front of you as you're giving what you've been given. Hugo, thank you for coming today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And I hope that I come back a year from now and I tell you, hey, you know what? All we do now is free weddings. Like that's all we can do, and that the money comes from somewhere else. That's honestly my hope, is that we get to honor so many people that are crucial to our community, our local heroes, and I hope to inspire many wedding vendors throughout the world to think a hero and to say, oh, you're getting married, don't worry about the money. It's on me, because without those people, our, that America wouldn't be what it is. And I can speak with authority as an immigrant who has seen the third world, who grew up in the third world, and has come here first person and sees the difference. And it's really our local heroes, our community members who give the most and are the most selfless that make this such an amazing place. So that's really the hope of or the focus of Rockstar Weddings, is to tell people like, hey, I want to be there for you, your big day, because you made America big, America.
And what's
Amazing.
the name of that .org again?
So it's rockstarweddings.org. And again, people are welcome to either give or volunteer or just come with your patronage to any of my businesses, and a portion of each of those businesses it goes towards Rockstar Weddings every year. So come host your events at the silo, have your AV or entertainment needs through Lions Road, or come out for a fun dining experience at a Copper Dome. So
Top-notch places. He runs a professional crew. It's tight. It's worth doing.
awesome. Thank you again for having me.
Yes, sir.
We are here to help you discover or develop your passions, how you can use them, and why you exist. How can we help you help others better?